Starting my own business has probably been one of the best decisions I've made in my life, and becoming a Notion consultant or an operations consultant more specifically has been a great decision. It has allowed me to completely bypass the corporate slog that I've heard so much about and actually do something every single day that I genuinely love whilst earning a decent living. Last year, I made a video about my very first year as a Notion consultant and my first year in business. And so I wanted to dedicate this video to my second year in business. Now, the reason for these type of videos are kind of three reasons. First of all, for my clients, I like to give you guys some transparency of what's going on behind the scenes so you can know who is the person behind systemizing your business and who you're going to be working with. This video is also for other Notion consultants or people interested in Notion or other operations consultants. I know there's a lot of you who watch my videos dedicated to that, and so this video is also for you to learn what it's like creating this sort of business and running this sort of business. And finally, slightly selfishly, this is an opportunity for me to reflect on how my business has gone, and actually putting it down on paper and actually recording it here on this video gives me an opportunity to really think deeply about where I want my business to go. So in this video, we'll be talking about my expectations for this year, the reality of what actually happened, the lessons I learned along the way, and my plan for 2025. So every year in Notion, surprisingly, I dedicate a page for my goals and my dreams for the new year. And when I looked back into Notion for 2024, there was a couple of things that I had written down. The first thing was that I had a revenue target of £50,000. And this was quite ambitious for me, considering in the previous year, if you look back to that video, I only made around £16,000. Again, this was because it was my first year, I was getting things off the ground and I made a lot of mistakes, but this definitely felt like an ambitious target and something that motivated me. I also wanted to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers. I think at the time I was around 200 or 300, and I had started to notice that YouTube really was the platform that I wanted to dedicate my time to, and I'll explain why a little bit later in the video. I had written slightly vaguely that I wanted to standardize my consulting side of the business, and I think what I meant by that was essentially back then, I had been offering Notion consulting to anyone that would have me, and I had also had no real structure or methodology for serving my clients, and so everything was pretty much firing at the hip. And so I think I wanted to, first of all, create some sort of structure or some sort of timeline that I would take all of my clients through. But secondly, I was hunting for the niche that I wanted to work in so that I didn't have to work with every single type of industry and sort of start from scratch every single time I had a new client. And then finally, I wanted to grow the template side of my business. So back in October of 2023, I had launched Notion for agencies, and that had started to really pick up in sales. I think I was around £2,000 in revenue in total for my template sales. And so I basically wanted to double down on that and grow those sales. So what actually happened in 2024? Well, let's start with the thing that probably most people are interested in, which is the revenue number. And by the end of this month, which is November 2024, I have earned £40,000 in revenue. And so I expect that to be around 43 or 45 by the end of the year officially, but that was my ultimate number. Now this split off into portions, again, from the consulting and the templates. So for the consulting, I think I made around 21,000, and then for the templates I made around 19,000, and this was quite surprising in the end, taking a look back at this, because that's almost a 50-50 divide between my consulting and my templates. I also made about £600 in affiliates, and that is purely just from Notion's affiliate program. And I'm really happy about that because that really is passive income and a nice little bonus. A few more things that happened in terms of the Notion side of things. At the start of 2024, I became a certified Notion consultant. And so I joined their program and I got access to, or I got put onto the Notion consultant directory. And so I got quite a few leads from there. But that was something that I'd been wanting to do all of 2023. And so I was really proud to join alongside all of the other amazing consultants on that program. And then recently, probably about 2 months ago, I also became a Notion ambassador. And this was a program that I'd kind of overlooked for quite a while, but essentially this is for anyone who is making content around Notion, or basically is a Notion champion and is helping other people online with Notion. And I'd assumed that the Notion consulting course was all I really needed access to. But recently, joining this in a couple months ago, I've realized that first of all, it's an amazing community of Notion geeks and enthusiasts, and really, really lovely people in that community. But secondly, you get quite a lot more access, or it seems like quite a lot more access to beta features to test out new things coming out in their product roadmap. And that has been really helpful, because now I can start creating content for you guys dedicated to all of those feature updates, because I might have access a bit earlier to it than everyone else will. So in terms of standardizing the business and trying to nail down my niche, I went through quite a few iterations of the business and experimented with a few sort of side niches in 2023. So the first thing I had was my writing niche. And you may see earlier in this channel, I was actually creating content dedicated to screenwriters and writers, and I have a handful of templates for them. And so I was experimenting with that still, creating content for that. But ultimately, I think in the first quarter, I decided to drop that niche. I still had the templates up, but I wasn't going to make any more content to it. I wasn't going to do any more email marketing for it. I was just going to let that sit alone on its own. Another niche that cropped up for me as well was, as I was making content here on YouTube about how to become a Notion consultant and making stuff targeted towards you guys who are interested in that. I got a lot of views, and that got me excited, and I thought maybe I should consider launching some sort of course or some sort of program dedicated to becoming a Notion consultant. And so I actually, for the first time, sent out an offer to interview some budding Notion consultants, people who wanted to make money through Notion. And I interviewed about 10 people, and it was really rewarding chatting to other like-minded Notion experts and hearing their stories about what they were struggling with. Ultimately, again, I didn't decide to go for that niche, just simply because I felt like it was pulling me away from the core offer of my business, and I didn't want to take any time away from that. But I still wanted to see if there was an opportunity for it and interview these people and see what they had to say and what they would be interested in. But yeah, ultimately, again, I had decided not to go for that niche either. And then about halfway through the year, I had my biggest roadblock, which was just the big question mark in my head of if I'm in the wrong niche completely. So I had been doing Notion consulting specifically for agencies, and I actually ended up chatting to a growth partner. They were sort of a marketing agency, but they were also helping people with their offers and how they were packaging their services. And I started talking to them, and one of them basically told me that agencies was a bad niche. They had been in that niche themselves before. They felt that agencies typically didn't have as much money to spend as other niches or other industries had. And so I had a massive panic about this, because all I had done up until then was work with agencies and really specialized with working with service-based businesses. And this is where I felt my skills were at. And so eventually what happened was I partnered with these guys, and we basically went through a coaching program together for about a month, and they were helping me try to find another niche and to package my offer differently. Now, while I completely understand the logic that they were going for in terms of lots of agencies not potentially having as much purchasing power as other industries, this part of the year, and when I was dedicating this much time to rethinking my niche, really felt like wasted of time in the end, because after working with them for about 5 or 6 weeks, I decided to not change niche and to continue on with agencies. And so that portion of the year really felt a little bit frustrating, that I'd wasted so much time second guessing what I'd already been doing for so long. So in the end, I decided to stop working with them and again go back to agencies and to rethink my offer myself. What I eventually landed on, and what you'll be seeing across all of my different socials now, is Workflow Lab, and that's my rebranded business and business name. And what's included in that is my new service, which is the Workflow Accelerator. And essentially what this has done is it's taken everything I've learned by working with clients doing Notion consulting, and I've basically repackaged it into a more comprehensive operating consulting offer. And so there's a refocus on not just building something in Notion, but actually looking at your business as a whole, auditing all of your different processes, putting them into process maps, and then basically creating a strategy for your business in terms of how we're going to make it more efficient and standardize things. And so, yeah, this is the new service that I've launched. And I think since about Q3, at the end of Q3, I've worked with multiple agencies now on this new offer, and everyone's really enjoying it. So it feels really good that I've finally got to a position that I wanted to, which is standardizing that consulting side of the business. But again, it was just, I went through so many iterations and so many different niches, and I really did second guess myself of if I'm even serving the right people, that it was a battle to get there, but I'm there at least. Working with this new service has also been great because for the first time I've had longer contracts. So the majority of the contracts now are either 2 months or 3 months. And that has been such a relief in terms of knowing how much business I have in my pipeline in the future. So before then, I was only working with agencies for 2 or 3 weeks. Whereas now when I land a client, I know I at least have them for up to 2 or 3 months. And so that just makes it a lot easier to regulate the cash coming in and knowing when I need to look for new clients. So what are some of the lessons I've learned during 2024 running my Notion consulting / operation consulting business? Well, the first one is just to really be strict to yourself and try to focus down on what you're doing each quarter, each month, each week, each day. As you would have seen, I went through lots of iterations of the different niches I was trying. And that is a classic thing that happens in business, which I like to call the shiny object syndrome, which is when you are working in your business and obviously there's always problems that come with any business. You get fed up with those problems. And then when you look over online and you see what other people are doing, you think, that's the next best thing. If I was just to do that and change my business for working with those clients or doing this service, that's going to solve my issues. And then what happens is you jump over to that new offer, you lose all the progress you were working on with your current offer, and then you have to start again. And then as you start working in that offer, what happens? Like any offer, you realize there's inherently problems in that offer as well that you would have to overcome. And then you see there's a new shiny thing, and so you jump onto that next thing. And so I definitely had shiny object syndrome during this year. And because I was trialing so many niches, I definitely didn't make as much progress as I probably could have if I had just been a bit more focused, if I had just stuck with what I was already doing, and if I had just worked on solving the problems that were inherently inside of my own offer instead of jumping to the next thing. That being said, it was great to trial different niches. As I said, I interviewed some Notion experts, and that was really cool to do that sort of market research. And then what I forgot to mention earlier in the video is I also did the same when I was crafting my new offer for my agency owners. So I actually got on calls with up to about 10 agency owners and asked them what issues they were facing, what sort of solutions would they want. And so it was cool to actually go through that sort of product market fit process. But in the long run, if I had just stuck with my offer, if I had tried to just get over the hurdles that were in that offer, I probably would have been a lot further along by now. To that next point, the other lesson I learned was just being strict with myself about what clients I take on. So once about halfway through the year, I had figured out that I wanted just to work with agency owners, and I sort of knew all of the different characteristics they had, the pricing points, all of that sort of thing. I still would take on sort of these ad hoc projects as they came. So I'd work with, for example, an IT consulting business, helping them set up a new sort of template that they were going to sell to their customers. I worked with a recruitment company creating a fully fleshed out sort of recruiting platform. These are fun projects to work on for Notion Consulting, but they were completely different solutions, a completely different skill set that I was having to come up with. And it took time and energy away from working just with agency owners. So being more strict to myself and knowing exactly who my ideal client is and feeling okay to say no when someone isn't my ideal client is something I've definitely learned. What's been really rewarding now I have the Workflow Accelerator set up, is that my sales calls more natural and organic because I'm actually sitting on the call and genuinely wanting to see if I'm a good fit for this agency owner, and genuinely wanting to see if they're ready to start systemizing their business. Beforehand, it was just, can I get this thing done? Yeah, I think so. Let's go for it. Let's put a proposal together. Whereas now I know what questions I'm asking, and I know if they are sort of checking the boxes and if they're ready. And then if they are, then I can have confidence in myself that I can predictably get them results. The third lesson I learned was that you don't always have to follow the rules when it comes to business. And I think this is what I got so in my head about when I was questioning whether I'm even in the right niche and if I've got the right offer. And that's because I had started looking at things like Alex Hormozy's The Offer book, and I was reading lots of business books at the time. And obviously this is great to sort of enrich your knowledge about business. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to follow every single rule in the rule book. And I think I'm victim to that because I do like to follow the rules. I do like to be structured and organized and intentional in the way I run my business. But what this meant is that I overthought too much, and I was too much in the theory instead of just trialing something and seeing what happens. And so what this also manifested in was undercharging my agency clients in the beginning of the year. So when I was working with clients and I was sort of providing them an operations consulting experience, I just assumed, because I'd been told, that agencies wouldn't be willing to pay high ticket for the services. And so I was just charging them not very much. And then once I just tested with one client, slightly more high ticket, they were absolutely fine to pay that. If I just trialed the actual price and seeing if people were willing to pay more, instead of trying to come up with this whole new offer that ticked every single box, then I would have made a lot more money this year. So that's definitely something I've learned, to definitely read the books and make yourself knowledgeable about all the different aspects of business and operations. But it doesn't necessarily mean you can't just go away and see if you think something works just by testing it with a client and seeing what their reaction is, because that is the quickest and the fastest way to see if someone is willing to pay for something or if someone likes a service. Same with my sales page. I didn't even think about creating a sales page for Workflow Accelerator for a long time because I wanted to absolutely map it out and get it correct and make sure I was ticking all of the boxes. But once I actually put that sales page up, straight away I was getting lots of people booking onto a call. I was getting onto those calls and I was getting feedback from them about the sales page, about things they weren't quite understood or weren't certain about. So if I was to launch a new offer today, I would not second guess myself, get it onto a sales page right away, get onto those sales calls with the clients and see what they actually have to say. And then my fourth and probably the biggest lesson I've learned this year, and this is specific to operations consulting, is the advantage of doing done with you work over done for you work. And this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, but a lot of my clients, when I would build them these beautiful Notion systems for them and kind of do everything behind the scenes and then provide it to them, obviously give them training, but essentially I've built everything for them and then I've given it to them. A lot of the time what happened was that their team struggled to adopt the system, or even the founder, the CEO themselves wouldn't adopt the system. And I think the reason for that was because really when you're building systems, you need to get your fingers dirty and you need to sort of see the inner workings of the system itself. And so what I've recently shifted over to is having a program that is a lot more done with you. So I come along and I work on the strategy with you. I'm there to guide you in terms of auditing the business and recommending automations, ways of setting up the system. But then a lot of the time what I actually get my clients to do is to build parts of the system with me, or even build parts of the systems themselves. And this is so they have confidence to know that if they want to customize something in the future, they can go ahead and do it themselves. And what I've learned by doing this is that the adoption of the systems increases tenfold, because the founder really understands how it works, is able to distribute it to the team. The team feel like they have ownership if they've built some of the system themselves as well. And so really I have shifted away from completely done for you work when it comes to implementing systems for businesses. And now I'm looking at done with you and the best way to structure done with you work. So based on the lessons I learned from 2024, here's my rough plan for 2025. First of all, we have a few updates and a few launches that I'm hoping that will be coming out soon. So the first one is our Notion for Agencies template. We're going to be we are in the process of doing a complete overhaul and a complete update of that template since Notion came out with a bunch of new features with their Make with Notion event recently. We'll probably be retitling it to the Agency HQ, and in there we want to be adding things like Notion charts, Notion forms, the new Notion automations that are really powerful. And as well as including all those new features, we have the agency operating system inside of this template, which is essentially a take on the entrepreneurial operating system, or EOS. And in there, it's going to be able to help you to run your business using that model, but inside of Notion, which I'm really happy to release soon. I'm also looking to release the Founder HQ, which essentially is going to be a productivity system that pairs with the Agency HQ and is obviously made specifically for founders and for agency owners. And it's essentially just a reworking of my own productivity system. And the emphasis on this is generally just to keep it as simple as possible and for it to have a really nice compatibility with your business system. And so in Notion, you'll be able to have all of your own personal stuff, your tasks, your notes, your habits, alongside your business stuff, which is shared with your team. And this is personally why I just love Notion, because there's not many other software tools that allows you to have this compatibility between your personal stuff and your business stuff, and for it to be able to integrate with the Notion calendar and see things in your calendar. So that's something I'm really excited to release soon. Of course, we launched the Workflow Accelerator, and we've got a few more updates that I want to make to that specific program as I'm getting more and more feedback with clients as I'm working with them. And so I'll be working on that throughout the year as well. And then finally, the biggest launch and the thing I'm most excited for is going to be our workflow community. We're still sketching out the ideas and I'm still thinking about how this is going to work. But essentially, I want to take everything that I do with my clients and put it inside of a community, inside of a course. So that if there are clients that aren't quite ready to work with me on a one-to-one basis, or if they're not quite ready for systems, I can point them to this resource, and it's going to teach them how to systemize their business on their own. Alongside that, I want to have other classrooms or other courses that are going to be supplementary to everything. So a Notion course, which is going to help you and your team get up to speed with Notion, so you can sort of not have to worry about the training of the software, just watch the course and then all of the team know how to use it. And then there will probably also be department specific training to help you optimize each area of your business. So one dedicated to sales, one to fulfillment, and so on and so forth. This resource is going to be great for anyone, again, who wants to do things DIY for themselves and just join a community and work through the materials and obviously chat to people in the forums. But also this workflow community is really going to be the ultimate supplement to my consulting clients as well. And so they're all going to get access to that. And a lot of the video material, the course material that's in that, they're going to be working through when they're working with me and be able to use with their team to help them train their team. So those are some of the launches that are coming out. Another thing that I'm planning to do is essentially just take YouTube a lot more seriously. I've really valued YouTube as a marketing tool and as a way for me to give value to people who aren't quite ready to work with me. And the reason why I think it's probably the best marketing channel out there is because when I'm talking face to face to you guys, there's no better way to build trust with my clients and for them to actually see me, hear me, and feel like they know me. The amount of times I've gotten to a sales call and someone said to me, "Oh, it's weird to chat to you. I feel like I already know you because I've watched so many of your videos." And having that ability through YouTube is just second to none compared to any other sort of social media channel or running ads. So I want to dedicate a lot more time to YouTube and hopefully be more consistent with releasing a video every week. And I also want to make sure that all of these videos are really value packed. So that's definitely something that I'm going to be focusing on a lot more into the new year. And then finally, this year we've made around 40,000. And so next year I have a target in mind for my revenue, which is 80,000. Again, I'm making myself slightly beholden by putting it down on camera, but I think that's a good thing. So that is my revenue target. And that is basically based on the fact that typical growth is in the first 3 years is sort of doubling each year. Well, that's a pretty rapid growth, but that is a good target to have in mind. And I really think 80 is a good number for where I am at the moment, because that would be the next sort of level up that would really feel quite life changing, to be honest, to get to that target. So that's something that I have in mind and is the target. Again, all of this is kind of experimental when you're setting these goals. They're the thing that give you an aim to aim for. If we don't get there, then we'll review that in next year's video, but I hope we do. So I'm thinking about turning these videos into quarterly reviews here on the channel, which I would probably call lab reports or something like that. If you guys want to see these types of videos, please do leave a comment down below and let me know if you're interested. I actually tend to do my business goal planning on a 3-year basis and then only do quarterly targets. So if I do a quarterly review with that cadence, that's more realistic or more aligned to how I actually set targets. And if you guys have already set targets for the new year, please do leave a comment down below of what they are. I'd love to hear what you guys are hoping to focus on in 2025. And if you're interested in actually adopting Notion for your agencies, you can check out my agency template tool with the link in the video down below. Again, we're making new updates to it very, very soon. So if you purchase it now, you'll probably get it for a slightly cheaper price and then also get access to all of the new updates. Apart from that, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.